Today I'm talking to Josh Dotoli, a leading real estate agent in Fort Lauderdale, Florida at One Sotheby's International Realty. Josh joined Sotheby's just 2 years ago and has quickly found his way to being a top-ranking agent in the company. Josh talks about his story, his success, and how positioning his business attributes to his fast rise to the top. Thanks for listening to the Jere Metcalf podcast, where top real estate agents tell how they do it. This podcast is to share knowledge for realtors and raise awareness for Give Back Homes, where real estate professionals work together for social good. Jet Centers Aviation, Bentley Atlanta, Legends Global, thank you for your sponsorship. All right, everybody, it's the Jere Metcalf podcast where top real estate agents tell how they do it. And today we are excited to have Josh Dotoli with One Sotheby's International Realty based out of Fort Lauderdale. Josh, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for having me. So excited to be here.
So excited to have you. And he has listened to a few of our podcasts. So excited to have a top agent and fan with us today. Tell us, Josh, a little bit about yourself. How did you get it? And really, how did you decide to become a real estate agent?
So I really never thought about doing anything else. I grew up, my dad was a builder, so I was introduced to the business on that side of things. I always had an entrepreneurial spirit. I think I had a lawn business in high school. I was always, doing things in college. I had a mentor, and he had a ton of rental properties, and he basically said, "Hey, Josh, get them fixed up. If you can help me get them rented, I'll pay you." I thought that was the greatest thing on earth. I studied marketing in school. I graduated from college in Tampa, and as soon as I finished that, I knew I wanted to live in Fort Lauderdale. And I started working in Fort Lauderdale. That was about 5 years ago, and it's been amazing ever since.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. So basically you you did rentals and then you found your way to Sotheby's. How many years have you been a real estate agent?
So, I started doing those rentals when I was 18. I was in college and I was learning the business. I was so exciting. And when I joined Sotheby's, it was my 2-year anniversary was this past January. So
wow.
I've the company 2 years, but I've really had the opportunity to see the business from kind of the bottom end to, here at the high end.
Well, and that's one of the things, everybody, that got me excited to bring Josh on is that besides the fact that he is a great fan, we appreciate that, is that he has quickly come to the top at Sotheby's International Realty at One Sotheby's. He is a top 10 agent, and that is one of our biggest franchises at Sotheby's. So he is incredibly successful and wanted to get from you firsthand how you did it. So tell us a little bit about you. You did rentals, and then at what point did you decide you actually wanted to get serious about selling houses?
Sure. So for me, it was really just a mindset of, so I was working, rentals, but again, that was in college. I finished up college. I moved here. I got into the business in the Fort Lauderdale market, and really I started as a buyer's agent, and I was working for a good local brokerage that generated a lot of buyer leads, and that was a great way to get started. And what I found myself doing was you're going from like buyer to buyer and you're running all around, all over Fort Lauderdale, Miami. It wasn't the business that I wanted. It wasn't the business that I had imagined in my mind. So for me, it was a mind shift change. And basically 2 years ago, I just decided, you know what, I don't want to be a buyer's agent anymore. I want to list and sell amazing properties. And as simple as it sounds, it really was. And once I made that decision, my business totally changed.
That's amazing, because it's always like there's all things you can do lots of stuff in your business, but it's got to change here first. And once it changes here, it's amazing how everything outside changes. Do you think you could, I'm going to kind of phrase this with one of my questions that I like to ask everybody, because I do like to say, obviously you were doing rentals, then you were taking leads and running buyers around, and then you were like, wait, I want to kind of be more of an entrepreneur than that and be a business owner, and I'm going to list nice properties and I'm going to take on listings, and now you're a top 10 agent in a matter of a couple of years. What do you think you did? Obviously, you had to make the decision But
Yes.
what kind of activities do you think that generated that made you so differentiated from your competition and successful so quickly?
That's a great question. The first thing is to become a market expert. And I became a market expert in a very hyper local area. So not only do I sell Fort Lauderdale, but I'm even selling now. I've even defined my business as East Fort Lauderdale. So it's a very specific area of Fort Lauderdale that's made up of about 7 or 8 neighborhoods. And I just became the expert. I went to every single open house on the weekends. I went to every single brokerage open. I know the statistics. And if you asked me what the average list price was, for example, in Rio Vista, I can tell you that it's $505 a foot. So when I'm having conversations with people, and if I'm on the golf course or just whatever it is, I'm not, you know what it is? I always get this question: how's the market? Well, I don't answer how's the market with good.
Like so many people do. Yeah.
Or I don't answer, well, I'm busy. Like, what does that mean? Like, what do you mean you're busy? You know? So I answer those questions with a lot of value, and I give them specific information pertinent to their neighborhood. And when people hear that, they're like, this guy's different. You know, this guy's hungry. This guy knows his stuff.
Well, and this guy gives information I need. So they immediately register you as the person that they need to talk to.
Especially with so much information out there. You know, people are on Zillow, they're on Realtor.com, they're doing these home evaluations. And so when you're able to help somebody decipher through all this chatter and you're able to become, you know, their trusted advisor, that's just, for me, that was the golden ticket. So really just information, just having the information. Yeah.
So give us an example if you've got a recent one of somebody saying, hey, Josh, how's the market? And what's your response to that? What would you say today if somebody came up and asked you that? Which I'm sure like 5 people probably already have.
First thing I would want to know is I would want to know if they're looking to buy, sell, or invest, because each of those has its own unique market.
Okay, so I'm going to interrupt you, which I have to, because did everybody notice how he answered a question with a question? Keep going.
Right. So, you know, Jere, are you looking to buy, sell, or invest? So tell me.
Me? I'm just curious, and I'm doing real role play. I'm not even Jere. Like, I'm just curious. Like, what does this say? Somebody's like, and I'm just curious. Do you get that, or do they actually say, well, actually, I was thinking about buying?
Yeah. So I would ask them, well, that's great. What's your favorite neighborhood?
Right. You tell me one. I don't know Fort Lauderdale. East Fort Lauderdale, but what's the place? That's probably a section.
Let's say you tell me this.
I'm a terrible role player.
Let's say, you know, Josh, I'm here in Atlanta. I've always had this dream of owning a condo on the beach. How's the condo?
You're having a role play for me. This is ridiculous.
So this is what I'd say.
Wait, let's start over. Josh, I've always dreamed of having a condo. I'm in Atlanta. I don't really know the Fort Lauderdale market. I'm just curious. But you know what? I've always thought how awesome it would be to have a house on the beach. So tell me.
So it's an amazing time to buy in Fort Lauderdale. I'll tell you why. Because we have a ton of new construction, and most of our new construction has already been purchased. So what that means is that there's still a very big demand for new construction. And compared to Miami, we're still about 20% less. So this is a terrific time to get in, buy new construction, and not to mention, there was a recent report by PricewaterhouseCoopers that named Fort Lauderdale as the 7th most emerging market out of 77 metropolitan markets analyzed. So that's why you should.
Now, that's some good stuff. Now, how do you keep that data in your back pocket? Or is it just constant research, or do you think?
I'm just constantly, constantly researching and reading, and I'm always trying to rub shoulders with people who can help me take my business to the next level. So I find tidbits to talk about, and one great thing that I implemented was on my Google alerts, anything relevant to Fort Lauderdale real estate, I get a notification.
Oh, that's smart.
Yeah.
And is that like a Google app thing, or just Google in general, or?
You could just go on Google. You could put an alert.
Down.
Yeah.
I don't even know how to do Google alerts. I probably should be embarrassed and probably shouldn't admit that.
Yeah, I'll show you.
So, Awesome. I'm going to do Google Alerts. I love it. That is genius. I mean, that's a way to easily streamline it and do it. So talk about differentiating yourself amongst the competition. That's a great way to do it. What are you, in speaking of all this success, what are you most proud of? What success are you most proud of from being a real estate agent?
Well, the most thing would be meeting my wife, because if I wasn't in real estate, I would have never met my wife. So,
oh, okay.
yeah.
So tell us the quick story behind that.
The 10,000 foot version of it is my wife also works in real estate. She was working for one Sotheby's in a new development project, and their sales center happened to be right across from where I live in Fort Lauderdale. So there was an event, we met, we started going out, etc. And so here we are, 2 years later, married. So I definitely attribute that as my greatest real estate success. But as far as specifically in the business, I was sitting at the One Summit, which is where I met you a couple months ago. And I was sitting in the audience, and they were doing the top producer award ceremony. And we've all been there when there's an award ceremony going on, and we don't get called up. And it's like we get quiet, we get a little uncomfortable, and we're like, man, I really, I wish I was up there. I wish I was experiencing that. And really, I just said, whatever it takes. And this was in March of 2016. And I said, whatever it takes, I'm going to be up there for 2017. And the funny thing is I emailed our managing broker, and I said, hey, where do you think I need to be to get up there next year? And she wrote me back like, you need to be here. And I was like, okay. And she's like, you have time, don't worry about it. And I just set that number in my mind. And, when I was doing open houses on Saturday and Sunday, and I was tired, and it was my 6th, 10th, or 20th straight day of working, I thought like small wins, small wins, small wins. And I'm telling you, yeah. And I was up there 2017. So like for me, that was huge. It wasn't about the award. It was more about setting a really big, crazy goal and achieving it. So for me, that's got to be my biggest highlight in the business.
Oh, that's huge. So everybody, I mean, this is at top 10 out of 600.
I'll correct you. It's actually top 25, but it's out of
700 agents.
It's a little over, even more than that, but top 5 in our office, in our
That's
Fort
awesome.
Lauderdale office, which is one of the top offices in the state.
That is huge.
Yeah, thank you.
So I want to talk about, we talk about ahas, and you didn't even point this out because it's become so much of your paradigm and way of thinking, which is what of a lot of us in real estate, it happens is you said small wins, small wins, small wins. Like you think everybody's like waiting for their big opportunity or their big whatever, or their big, what do you call it? I forget the word, but anyway, their big chance, their big whatever. And it's not that. It's your small wins, small wins, small wins. Constantly be prepared. What is it? Good luck comes to those who work hard.
Yeah, that's just so true. I mean, I saw this quote the other day, and it was of Usain Bolt. And he's worth like over $100 million. And it's basically like, it all came down to him running like a couple 90-second races. And the guy trained all his life. So that's kind of how I go about the business, where when I have that appointment with a buyer or a seller, when I'm face to face with somebody in open house or, whatever it is, that's game time. And I show up 100% ready to go, polished, car's always washed. Like I put together really nice embossed binders that I give clients. It's just always what else can I do? And I just think, how can I go a little bit more? And when you consistently do that, you kind of set yourself apart from the competition.
And it doesn't take that much to be. It's the very, not only is it the small wins, but it's the small things. It's in the details. It's always in the details of what we do. Who is the Ritz-Carlton speaker that's come to Sotheby's?
With the reach higher.
Yeah,
yes.
Reach higher, and then, everybody reaches up, and then they reach higher. But wait, you could stand up, or you could stand on the table, and then you could jump and whatever. So
whatever it is.
Right.
Always,
right, and just stay in that mindset and thinking of that way. So what, in your business, It sounds like you do. Everybody, I find everybody finds what they're good at. Some people are good at open houses. Some people are good at lead generation. Some people are good at working their sphere. What is yours?
So I've become good at this with practice videos.
Ah.
And about 2 years ago, I started doing them. And I had just the nicest, most patient guy, and I was nervous, and I was so concerned over making sure every word was perfect and how I looked. And eventually, you start focusing so much on each individual word, and you just start focusing on the message. And then I started thinking, okay, well, let me think of one person that I want to connect with who may be watching my video, and let me just talk to them.
Great tip. Yeah.
Once I started doing that, I totally relaxed. I started being myself. And so now I'm doing tons of videos. I just started a show. It's called the Josh Dotoli Group Show.
And then where do we find that?
You can find it on my Facebook. You can find it on my website, joshdotolygroup.com. I'm in my second episode. This isn't a full production, but I'm delivering good tidbits of value, 2-3 minutes long. In my recent episode that I just filmed, I talked about the 7 most commonly asked questions by my clients purchasing new construction.
Oh, I love just the name alone.
I'm an expert in new construction sales and working with buyers, negotiating with developers, knowing all the ins and outs, knowing what concessions to ask for, etc. And so I thought it would be great to share that. And then I'm going to boost this post. I'm going to link it to a blog post. So I'm going to really try and get as many miles on the video.
So how long are these videos? So the videos are basically the Josh Dotoli or Dotoli Group Show, and they're how long?
Like 3 minutes.
Oh, God, that's easy. And then you put them out once a week, or?
So I'm trying to get more consistent. I mean, like all of us in real estate, but that's something that I've committed to. And now
Isaac is laughing. I can hear Isaac in my ear, and he's laughing because he knows. He's learning about real estate agents from our podcast. So anyway, but get consistent. Yeah.
Being consistent. And I'm filming 2 episodes at a time now. So I know that I can at least plan, 2 episodes at a time. And it'll become more structured. But for right now, it's just putting out the content. I've done some other videos where there's just a lot of like positive economic things happening in Fort Lauderdale. They're building this big new park. They're updating infrastructure, etc. So I bring my guy. We go on scene. I do 2-3 minutes. We do some drone shots, and it looks great. And it doesn't cost a lot of money. It really doesn't.
So, a couple of questions. I don't want to get too detailed in the video because I want to keep a big picture for everybody. But on the video, when you do the video recording, so obviously you get on camera and everybody can check it out on the joshdotoli.com. But you
Josh Dotoli Group.
joshdotolygroup.com.
Yeah.
When you go on the show, you're just talking to the screen, and you've got while your voiceover's going, you've got stuff in Fort Lauderdale, and who pieces all that together? Do you do that yourself on your Apple computer, or?
I wish I had the skills or the time, and
that's what I'm thinking, right?
I leave it to the professional. I found a young guy. He's in college. He's 24.
So you can find an intern. You can do it on Upwork.
So many people who want to do this kind of work, who want to build.
Or Isaac, you can do it for me anyway. Isaac's laughing again.
Yeah. You don't big company. It's better to kind of run, lean and just have someone who can do it. Yeah. And if anybody wants to reach out to me on ideas for different video topics, or how did I get started, or if they want kind of the post that I used on ZipRecruiter to find somebody, I'd be happy to share all that.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay, well, and we'll have your information when we post ZipRecruiter. When we post you as well. I use Upwork a lot, but ZipRecruiter's also.
Upwork's great.
Yeah. And then, so where was I going with that? I wanted to get a little bit back to the bigger picture. So in business, there's a lot of mindset about just going after deals and making calls and getting deals, and I call that a form of prospecting. And then there's also positioning. So for example, you get a lot of success out of these videos. Do you find it is actually getting you deals, or do you find it's more of a positioning, so when you're working with your sphere, they have a familiarity with you and it's easy for them to select you as their agent to hire?
It's totally positioning. And it's just building the layers of being an expert. And so that when I go on an appointment, it can just be about the client and their needs, and I don't need to sell myself.
Exactly.
And that's what I found, because when you can go right into their needs, that's just the best way to do it. And, even with my videos, other agents are seeing them. So, and I'm really not even concerned about them, copying it, because a lot of people don't know where to start, or they're just not comfortable on camera, or I'm already so far ahead of the game that I'm going to be doing different stuff. So, I'm not concerned about that. So, it's just
if you're a creative, you'll keep thinking of new things anyway, and keep,
Exactly.
you'll do things and then you'll do them different. By the time everybody's caught up to you, you're on to the next thing anyway. So
Exactly.
it just makes you look good because you were the first one to do it in the first place.
Sure.
So, because I've kind of been on that video train too. I've got so many different kinds of videos.
Yeah. I just commented on yours. I love the one.
Yay! I need to get on yours. Yeah. Which one did you see?
The one where you had the couple and you helped them sell and then buy, and you were sitting in the
Yeah. I mean, there's so many. There's funny ones. There's not funny ones. There's serious ones. I don't think I have any sad ones, but don't want any of those. But anyway. So what is your biggest? Well, I've got so many questions. I want to talk about. I've talked about what you're most successful at. Give us like your biggest aha in this business. Everybody has this perception when they come to this business, and I feel like it's all very similar. And once you've done this, we all have our ahas, and they're not always exactly the same. What's yours?
My biggest aha was that I could sell luxury real estate. So prior to 2016, I think my most expensive sale was like $975,000.
Mm-hmm.
And then in 2017, I sold 6 properties over $1 million.
That's awesome.
So I just changed the way that I did business. I looked at everything as like, I looked at everything as like, okay, this, even if it wasn't $1 million client, how would $1 million client want to be treated? And what would $1 million experience look like? And how would a property, even if it was $700,000, how would you market that? And I just kind of took this process and I started to like build and create this really great process. And then I had the confidence when I was in these conversations, and just everything just seemed to click. And it was another mind shift of just being like, I can sell these types of properties, and that's it. And when you have that level of confidence, people didn't ask me, well, what have I sold before? Just click. Yeah.
Well, they see that you have what they need, and that's what they need to know.
100%. Yeah.
So,
yeah.
What do you think? Was it? It sounds like you decided to sell luxury properties and then you joined Sotheby's, or was it the other way around?
I think it was just perfect timing of both. I've been with Sotheby's going on 2 years. Again, I was working for a smaller brokerage, which was a good brokerage, and it helped me get start, in my area. Mm-hmm. But it definitely helps to align with a brand like Sotheby's. People have a certain expectation when they see that blue business card. When they think of Sotheby's, they think of elegance, and they think of an experience. So also aligning myself with Sotheby's, I know helps.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Well, it always does. Exactly. So, when did that decision happen? Was it before or after Sotheby's?
I think it was right when I joined Sotheby's.
It all kind of just came together.
It all comes together, and I think also when you step up your accountability and when you step up your competition, it just changes. You
are who you're around. You kind of, by nature of the people you're hanging out with in a company and the way they do business, I find it just for example, the interview's not with me, but to relate to what you're saying, I was with a different company with a completely different brand and outlook, and I wasn't even conscious of. There were things I was doing because that was the mindset of where I was, and when I changed companies, I literally didn't really even make a conscious decision at first. Now I do, but at first I just found myself doing things differently because you rise to the occasion of who you're around, and it changes the outcome of what you're doing, and it's things that you don't think would make that big a difference, but do. So
I also found a lot of success in coaching. I'm involved in professional coaching. I think that accountability is huge. I've been with some different companies, and now I actually coach with Jack Cotton. I believe he's been on your show.
Yes, love Jack. Yes.
So, with Jack,
he's coming back on. He's already been on. I think he's been on twice, but he's coming back. He's great. But yeah, tell us about Jack.
No, I mean, Jack is incredible, and I was reading his book, Selling Luxury Real Estate. I believe one of your questions is, what's a great book? So I absolutely recommend that to everybody. It's a playbook on how luxury agents should operate, and he's so detailed, but it's incredible. Like some of the things that he talks about, like other agents just don't get it. Like I'll go in showings and be showing like $2, $3, $4 million properties, and the other agent is on their cell phone the whole time. And it's not like, they're setting up showings. So it's like small things like that Jack talks about, and just, creating that experience. It's just so crucial.
Mm-hmm.
So being able to align myself with people like him is just, it's paramount, because that's somebody who has 30 plus years of experience in the luxury market. So I'm able to really shorten that gap, or if I just need a question. So, I think coaching, I think it's fantastic. Most business executives have coaches. All athletes have coaches. So I think it just makes sense.
Absolutely.
That if you want to perform at this level, you need some sort of accountability.
Well, and it raises your self-awareness, because the power of self-deceit and denial is pretty powerful until you've got somebody looking you in the face, like putting you back into reality. Speaking of all that, so in our business, I think we kind of get paid to solve problems. If real estate transactions were easy and there were no problems, Zillow would have taken over. But there are problems, and with problems, even as agents solving them, we learn lots and lots of lessons. Can you give us a powerful lesson that you have learned as you've come into this business? And it might be something that happened and it was like, oh my gosh, you got to be kidding, I'll never do that again, or something that you were able to turn around because of the lesson you learned. Maybe go back to something like some really excruciating situation that you were able to, yeah.
I found that the busier that I have gotten and the more successful that I've gotten, definitely the tougher the deals and the more stressful. But the one thing that I can say, and it's so much easier said than done, is don't take it home with you. Because not only can you have a very tough day at work, if you take that home with you, then now your home life is off as well. And what I've found is a lot of times the stuff works itself out. So
you're right about that.
You have to let it be. And if you've done the right thing from the beginning, and the right thing being as far as like getting all the signatures on the listing agreement, not missing an initial here, getting the proper disclosures, doing everything right that you were supposed to do from the beginning, you're not leaving any open ends. When you get to these problems, what I found, a lot of the problems are something that involved me, right? So it was something that I could have done, or something a checklist or a system could have prevented. Mm-hmm. So starting from the beginning, doing everything right, and not bringing it home are some of the key lessons that I've learned. And still, we all have these deals that keep us up. Our deals are not small deals, and there's major commissions on the line. But you just have to trust the process, do the right thing, and not take it home. And I think it'll make our business a little less hectic. But I got to go in.
Okay, good. Okay, so I've got a couple of tips I want to get out of you, and 3 total questions. One is, what is your favorite tool in this business? CRM, app, not your phone, because that's everybody's favorite tool. So other than that.
So recently I implemented Curator. Have you heard of that?
Yes, I have. Tell me about it.
So Curator is basically a turnkey agent website with an incredibly simple backend. You can publish blogs in a matter of 15, 20 minutes.
Love it. Okay. And do you have to make a website through them, or can you implement it into your website?
You have to make it through them.
Okay.
Monthly subscription. I don't know exactly what they're charging now, but it's not cheap, but it is very user friendly. It looks great on mobile. It looks great on iPads, Androids, etc. I love the blog feature because you can write these blogs, you can copy the link, you can post them on your social, you can record videos, drop it in there. And they have an additional platform where you can leverage what they call a marketer. And you basically have an assigned marketing person to you. They create infographics, they help create blogs, they help publish it.
Wow, that's great.
So
you're big on positioning yourself in the market clearly, and that sounds like a huge tool for doing that.
Another thing that I use, which again it's more positioning, is I reserve the back cover of a very trendy magazine here in Fort Lauderdale. So it's circulated to 17,000 homes every month, and this is a magazine that I put on their coffee table, and I reserved the back cover. So that was a huge investment for me. But what I've found is people notice it, and they're like, "Wow, you're doing so amazing. You're in these magazines. You're in the videos. You're everywhere. You're
awesome. It's incredible."
Right.
Yeah.
So again, positioning, and
this is only 2 years at Sotheby's, so that's huge.
So this is 2 years, and I've been in the business a total of 5.
And
in Fort Lauderdale.
Oh, great! Your book, I believe, is
Yes.
Jack Cotton's book, because I want to know your one book that you recommend, and that is
everybody should read that. It's Selling Luxury Homes.
Selling Luxury Homes by Jack Cotton.
Yes.
And my last question for you is, what is the one thing you want to take, or you would want our listeners to take away from this? If there's one thing we remember, what does that need to be?
That I would love to make a connection with them. And if they ever find themselves in Fort Lauderdale or South Florida, it'd be my pleasure to get together, grab a coffee, grab a drink, whatever it may be. And if I can help their business in any way, I would be happy to. I've watched all, your episodes, and I've learned so much from those agents. So if I can pay it back, I would love to do that.
Josh, you're awesome. Great. That's the first time I've gotten that answer. I love it. That's smart. You're great. All right. Thank you so much. It's great having you on the show.